This is not a movie that many people will recognize, but End of Watch from 2012 is actually a decent buddy cop movie. As a matter of fact, even one of its bloopers was so good that the director David Ayer simply could not cut it at all. In the scene, we see Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Brian Taylor, can be seen showing a code 4 signal to a helicopter that's passing by. The funny thing is that this was not in the script at all, and the helicopter actually belonged to the LAPD flight team, which was coming in to check if all was well. Jake just went with the vibe and gave the signal, which went quite well with the scene. For those of you who don't know this, code 4 actually means no further assistance needed.
Got me out here dragging your heavy ass through the burning desert. And what the hell is that smell?
Working on a movie is hard enough as it is, but sometimes there are external circumstances that make the whole thing even more difficult for everyone involved. For example, in 1996's grand blockbuster film Independence Day, Will Smith's character Stephen Hiller drags an alien's body across the salt flats of Utah. This is supposed to be a normal scene, but the crew did not tell Will Smith about the smell that comes from the Great Salt Lake, which is not very nice. This is due to tons of dead brine shrimp that are found in it, and the smell was bad enough for Will Smith to break character and shout out the line about what it's supposed to be. This felt so nice and natural to the director Roland Emmerich that he chose to keep this scene in the movie just because of that blooper.
We've known each other many years, but this is the first time you ever came to the council for help.
The Godfather is one of the most loved movies of all time, and cats are amongst the most loved animals too. So, seeing that cat in the opening scene of the classic film made a lot of people feel warm and fuzzy. The funny thing about it though is that the director had not considered adding the cat to the scene. Yes, Francis Ford Coppola initially only wanted Marlon Brando to control the entire scene, but then he came across a cute little stray cat who wound up on the set all of a sudden. He then thought of adding this cat to the sequence because it would be a nice little touch. As it turned out, he was right, because seeing Corleone play with the cat while he's having a serious conversation creates a nice balance for his character, which is highlighted later in the movie as well.
How much shall I pay you?
What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully? And if by chance an honest man like yourself should make enemies, then he would become my enemies, and then they would fear you.
Godfather?
Rocky from 1976 revolutionized the way the world viewed boxing on the big screen. And his training montage happens to be one of the more iconic moments from the movie. As he strolls through the market during this session, we can see a man pass an orange to him, which he gleefully accepts. This may appear normal to most, but the director did not intend for that to happen. It's not even in the script, which Sylvester Stallone himself had written. Even so, the gesture felt so right that everyone decided to include it in the movie. There have also been reports that the crew filmed Rocky Balboa's running scenes in guerrilla style, which meant that they didn't have the permits for it. Basically, the director and the cameraman were just driving through the city with a camera in the back of a van shooting the whole thing.
The longer we're here, the less luck we're gonna have. The shields.
Star Wars is a very successful media franchise, and although the rebooted content hasn't been working well for Disney, 2015's The Force Awakens did break all kinds of box office records. Now, there's a moment where Han Solo drops his jacket and Chewbacca notices it. So when the team is ready to go back, Chewbacca hands the jacket back to him, completely confusing him in the process. This reaction that we see from Harrison Ford is totally genuine, as he did not expect to see Chewbacca do that. The whole thing was improvised by the actor Jonas Sotomo, who also happens to be a former basketball player. And yes, the director noticed it, but still chose to keep it in the movie, as it was a completely natural reaction.
I hate you so much. That one hurt.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin is a great comedy movie with many memorable moments, most notably the chest waxing scene that lead character Andy experiences with a lot of discomfort. Watching this scene was very funny for a lot of people, except Andy's actor Steve Carell, who had actually chosen to do a real chest wax rather than rely on special effects. His mind may have been in the right place, but his body did not respond the way he would have wanted to. Because the pain was a bit too much for him to handle. The reactions you see on screen are genuine because Paul Rudd and the others were supposed to show some more pity towards Andy, but because of Carell's exaggerated screams and lines, they couldn't help but giggle at him. The director liked it enough to make it a part of the final cut, but Carell vowed to never film such scenes by himself ever again after this incident. Scarlett Johansson is a very popular actress, with men making up a strong chunk of her fan base for obvious reasons. Keeping that in mind, it should come as no surprise that her creepy alien character from Under the Skin was able to seduce and hunt men so easily as her prey. The real surprise, though, is that the victims she hunted were not played by actors, but actual men who had no idea what was going on until it was later revealed to them. The director, Jonathan Glazer, wanted to make sure that he was getting genuine responses from unsuspecting men, which was why he chose to use this method. And luckily for him, nobody was too upset about it. Indiana Jones was a film series that further solidified Harrison Ford as a true star. There were many things to enjoy about 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark, but the most popular moment has to be when Indiana Jones shoots a man who shows off some very impressive sword skills. As it so happens, this was supposed to be an intense fight between Indiana Jones and the swordsman, but Harrison Ford fell ill due to food poisoning and didn't have the energy to film a lengthy duel. So, director Steven Spielberg decided to do something more interesting, which was to have Indiana Jones simply shoot the swordsman after his lengthy display. It became such a hilarious and iconic moment that Spielberg still talks about in interviews.
But are you strong enough to point that high-powered perception at yourself?
A census taker once tried to test. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
1991's The Silence of the Lambs is one of the classics of Hollywood that shall forever remain respected. The most notable performance of this movie is undoubtedly Sir Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. He only had a little under 25 minutes of screen time, but still managed to win an Oscar for his role. One particular moment of his that stands out is the hissing sound he makes towards Jodie Foster's character Clarice, who did not expect it at all. This was probably because the hiss was not in the script, and Hopkins improvised it because he felt it went well with the way his character was describing a particular meal he had consumed. The fact that he won an Academy Award for it only proves that the director was right to include it in the movie's final cut, rather than editing it out. Like, share, and subscribe if you liked this clip, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Okay then, see you soon.